We were shown a clear answer to chronic disease in the 1950s, and then we were told to forget about it. And I want you to ask yourself why. In the 1950s in Vienna, an Austrian physician noticed something that should have stopped the medicine world in its tracks. Patients with diabetes, obesity, arthritis, and chronic inflammation, they weren't getting better. They were being managed, medicated, and stabilized, but they were not recovering. Dr. Wolfgang Lutz was his name, and he wasn't a rebel doctor or fringe thinker. He was doing exactly what medicine asked of him. He was following the guidelines. He prescribed the standard treatments, but the outcomes were mediocre at best. So he did something that modern medicine quietly discourages. He went backwards. Lutz began reading medical literature from before when pharmaceuticals dominated care, before industrial food became the foundational diet, before disease was just something that you managed for life. Again and again, he ran into the same uncomfortable conclusion. Chronic disease improved when carbohydrates were limited. He didn't want this to be true, so he tested it on himself and with his patients that had already failed everything else. His protocol was blunt and unapologetic. No more than 72 grams of carbohydrates per day. There was no restriction on the amount of protein and fats that you could consume. Meats, eggs, cheese, butter, that was allowed freely. And what happened next shattered the entire narrative. Diabetic patients saw their blood sugar normalize, obese patients lost weight without being hungry, inflammatory bowel diseases improved, arthritis pain disappeared, digestive disorders resolved, not temporarily, consistently. Lutz treated thousands of patients over the decades this way. Not in a lab, not in short-term trials, in real life, with real follow-up. In 1967, he published his findings in a book translated as Life Without Bread. It documented case studies, metabolic reasoning, and practical application. But what did the medical establishment do? They ignored it. This was the same era where fat was declared the villain, when sugar was quietly protected, and when processed carbohydrates became the foundation of public health. So a doctor claiming that unlimited protein and fat could reverse disease, he was not just wrong, he was dangerous to the narrative. Lutz didn't stop. He continued prescribing the same approach for 40 more years. He published follow-ups and he tracked outcomes. He documented patients who stayed on that diet for decades. Guess what happened to his patients who followed the low-carb, high-fat diet for over 30 years? They were healthy, stable, and free of the disease that they once had. Today, modern research is slowly rediscovering what Lutz had already demonstrated. Chronic disease improves when insulin is controlled and when carbohydrates stop dominating the diet. That's the part of history we were never meant to remember. Why? Because it doesn't make money. If this reframed how you think about nutrition and chronic disease, or if you're done trusting narratives over results, you can learn more about my simple protocol. It's all on my page and in my bio. It's the easiest way to mitigate the impact of carbs without completely giving them up. It crushes the food noise and restores metabolic control. So instead of managing your condition for the rest of your life, this is how you can take back control now.